Hey everyone, welcome to AIMM Life Sessions. I'm Scott Keeklack. Today we have James Singer showing you the art of Foley. James has been in the film industry for over a decade, from location sound to sound design, all the way through final mixdown. He's also been an instructor here at AIMM for over 5 years, and today he's going to show you how sound is added in post-production.
Hey everybody, welcome back. So in today's session, we're going to talk about Foley. Foley is the art of recreating sound effects in a studio that mirror the sounds of life. It's human beings or characters interacting with the world around them. So it's picking something up and putting it down, or footsteps walking across a room. So in today's case, we have a scene where a man wakes up in the middle of the desert, stands up, brushes himself off, and walks off screen. So today I'm going to be creating those sounds using these two boom mics and this dirt pit. This is not actually dirt, however. This is coffee grounds that are we've placed into a plastic pit. On most Foley sets, they actually build the pits into the floor. They're usually about 2 to 4 feet deep, and they're filled with many different materials that are separated out into different sections. Materials such as real dirt, possibly coffee grounds or sand. They have a water pit, a gravel pit, and then they have different surfaces that they can place over those pits to get things like hardwood or cement or vinyl, different kinds of sounds that way. So today, a lot of times with those types of Foley studios, they will do most or all of the walking with their actual feet. Today, because of the setup we have here, I'm actually going to be using my hands with some gloves, and we're going to be going over a couple different ways to get different sounds and different movements to come across and look like what we're seeing on screen is what we're actually hearing. Today with me I have Keith O'Neill as my Foley engineer. The Foley team usually consists of about 4 people. The Foley team leader is the one who gets with the director and the producers, and they're the ones who plan out all of the sounds that are going to be needed to be captured for the film or scene. And their job is also to coordinate the engineers and the other members of the crew. The Foley engineer is going to be in charge of setting up the microphones, maintaining the session, making sure that all the sounds that are coming in are being mixed together properly, and they can play back and control video playback and audio playback for the Foley artists. The Foley artists are actually usually called walkers. That's because they're the ones actually walking in the scenes, and they're the ones manipulating all the props and different pieces of instruments that need to be used to create the sounds. One of the coolest things about Foley is that Foley artists don't really look at an object and say, what does this object sound like? They look at the object and say, what could this object sound like? A lot of times you might see YouTube videos of people doing Foley, and instead of having a gun cock, they actually use a wrench for that sound. Or instead of footsteps in snow, you might see them mix together cornmeal and cornstarch in a leather pouch and rub the mixture up against the inside of the pouch to get that crunchy sound. So that's one of the great things about Foley. And the class that we teach here at AIMM is we show you all of those really interesting, different outside-of-the-box type thinking ways of capturing sound. So let's go ahead and take a look at our session here. This is a video from Avid. It's just a little small piece from Agent MX0. And while Keith plays back this video, I'm going to kind of tell you the type of sounds that we're going to be creating while we do this. All right, so we have our character wakes up and slowly wakes up, and then we'll see his face kind of rub against the dirt here. So I need that sound. I need to get that cough and that hand squeeze right there. Now we've moved to a wider shot, and I need to get every time his hand or foot or leg touches the sand, I need to make a sound for that. Then we got to definitely get this big push up right here. Step, slap, clap, step, 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 and then we have a jog off screen. We're going to get that as in a little bit different of a way. So let me show you some of the different methods I'm going to be using here. With the shot where he's waking up and he drags his face kind of across the dirt, I'm going to do what you might, think logically would work well. I'm just going to rub across the top of our mound of coffee here. So that'll get a good soft movement of his face against the sand. Because we have, sorry, I'm going to break away for a second. Because we have two different microphones, we're getting an up-close sound for that really up-close shot that we just saw. And then we have a mic set further away to help add some distance and some depth to the shots that are further away. So, but because these mics are set up the way they are, this one was called sand close, this one's called sand far. But for that cough scene, which is the next sound in that series that I have to do, actually that's going to be picked up in this microphone because that's the one that's closest to my voice. So we'll be catching that here. We'll get the face rubbing across down here. And then when it backs out, I'm going to do for his, well, actually in that early scene, his hand, that squeeze is just going to be a simple squeeze like that. For the parts where he's just kind of touching the sand and helping him and moving himself around, it's just going to be gentle pats like that. For his big push up to get himself onto his feet, it's going to be something a little bit more dramatic like that. And then the simple taps for him just kind of turning around, and then his jog off the screen is going to be a little bit more intense of a type of sound. So those are the different methods I'm going to use for this. Let's go ahead and try one, Keith.
Okay. You want your 3 beeps in there?
Yes. Oh, let me tell you about the 3 beeps real quick. So 3 beeps are a method of creating little sine waves and setting them 1 second apart, and then connecting them all into one clip so that that clip can be either duplicated or moved around. And what it's used for is a cue to tell the Foley walker. ADR also uses this. The automated dialogue replacement will use this to cue voice actors. But for Foley, it just is a cue for when I'm supposed to start. So in this section, we only made one because I'm going to be doing all of these in one single take. And that's one of the things about Foley is that you want to do, because there's so many different sounds that you have to capture, oftentimes there's more than one walker and each of them are manipulating different things in front of different microphones because you're trying to get as much as you can possibly get in as few takes as possible. So in this, I'm using the 3 beep to let me know when my first cue is, and then I'm going to do it all in one take. So yes, let's go ahead and shoot it.
Okay. Here we go.
All right, so you can tell actually I was supposed to hold at the end of that cue, and I went ahead and started wiping my hands off. So we're probably going to have to do that one again. But let's go ahead and make a new playlist.
Okay.
I was happy with a lot of the earlier stuff in that one, but it was the very end I feel like I didn't quite catch it. So let's try one more time.
You ready?
Ready. All right. Feel pretty good about that one. Why don't we give, I don't need to hear the whole thing. I really just want to hear, so because we are doing, we have a close mic and a far mic, the places that are, that have, as you can see on the screen, we have the larger transients here that Keith is highlighting there. I want to hear those first because those are going to be the most noticeable parts. And so we need to pick if we're going to use the close mic, the far mic, or if we're going to do some kind of mixture of the two. So let's go ahead and listen back.
To the close mic?
Let's do both of them first, and then we'll do one at a time.
Okay.
Okay, let's do the close. And the far. All right. Actually, I kind of like the, usually I would prefer the far one, but I feel like I was a little bit too loud. So we would either want to bring the level down of the loud one, or we would want to use the quieter of the two. So let's just go ahead and, yeah, just go ahead and mute that one right there.
Mute this one?
Yeah. And then we'll use the further one for now.
Okay.
And then, yeah, let's go to the next transient we have here, which is the brush and clap. All right, let me hear close first. Yeah, let me hear the far one. I think I'm gonna like that one better. Yeah, I like that one a lot better. So yeah, let's go ahead and mute the close one on that. And then because all of the things are so subtle between the two microphones, between these larger transients, it's likely that I'm going to leave both of them in just so that they kind of complement each other and add a little bit of extra gain to everything before processing. Again, after we do this initial Foley process, it's going to be passed off onto another sound designer to take all of these sounds, mix them in with sounds that they might pull from libraries to get more difficult to record things. You know, a lot of things like explosions and car squeals and things like that often come from libraries because they're easier to record those once in a isolated environment and then be able to access it through a library. Whereas with Foley, because each movement is so meticulous, I can't just pull out the sound of footsteps on sand and have it line up with this. I have to do each individual movement directly to the video. So what's our next? Our next thing is the the jogging off the screen, correct?
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Okay. Let's hear the close. And the far. Yeah, I think I like the far with that one.
Okay.
It's a little less pronounced. All right. And so, and actually you can probably go ahead and just go ahead and end that and lop off there, yeah. All right, so now we have, Keith's gone in and added some fades for us. It's really important when you're working with fades to make sure that they match the timing of what we call the head and the tail of the shot. So just like with audio fades, we have visual fades as well. So when the screen goes from absolute darkness to full light, that is a fade. And it's based on timing. So our audible fades should be the same length as our visual fades. It adds a little bit of realism. Again, we're trying to make the audience believe that what they're seeing and what they're hearing are the same thing. So you can see that he's added fades on our front and tail. And so at this stage in the process, we would move on to the next scene for Foley. But for this, we're just going to kind of give you a sneak peek into what a sound designer might do next to this. So Keith, why don't we go ahead and bring in a background and our crow tracks. So what I've done here is I pulled in just a rural ambience background. It has some kind of wind and just kind of a little bit of low end. And our backgrounds, the purpose of our backgrounds is you can see we have fade ins and fade outs in the middle of these clips. And so the natural noise floor of this room is going to dip out when those fade out. And if you don't have something to cover up that silence, it is very distracting to the audience. So backgrounds are really great to give us a sense of ambience and a sense of understanding where we are in the world just by using our ears. And it also covers up those dips out and things like that. So we have just that stereo rural ambient sound. And then I thought that was a little bit stagnant. I felt like it was a little bit boring. And I wanted to add a little bit more drama into this. So I went and found some crows cawing sound. So, caw-caw. And I just kind of randomly placed them in places where they were not going to step on some of the more important audio. We want to make sure whenever we're adding in sound effects that we're not having our Foley and our sound effects, play over top of each other and cover each other up. Obviously, the same goes with dialogue. You never want to step on dialogue with sound effects or Foley or backgrounds or anything like that. Dialogue should always sit on top. Foley and sound effects should always sit above that. Above backgrounds, and backgrounds and music are kind of our base in that pyramid of sound. So let's go ahead and we'll listen back to this in its entirety. All right, so thank you all for joining us. I hope that this has been fun and interesting for you. At the Atlanta Institute of Music and Media, we have several post-production classes in our post-production degree that go from sound design for film, sound design for gaming, Foley, ADR, mixing for film, which includes surround sound. We have a lot of programs here for anybody interested in going into the audio side of film and television making. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day.